We have
Thank you for having me.
really Japan playing a mediating role when it comes to the Trump administration. Former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe had a very good relationship with President Trump. Now that we have a new incoming administration here in the United States, where does that leave Japan?
Right. So thank you for having me. And former Prime Minister Abe has some legacy in providing some geopolitical framework, such as free and open Indo-Pacific and Quad. And he also promoted the concept of data free flow with trust, DFFT. And that is the concept where all the economy, the large portion of the economy is now going digital, especially under this pandemic. And because of the cross-border free flow of data is so crucial, but we have to have a balance with ensuring trust. So in Japan, we are making efforts and a leading initiative in this regard. We had a US-Japan FTA with a high standard digital chapter. We just concluded a Japan-UK FTA with a similar data free flow chapter. And also we have a CPTPP and RCEP, as well as the ongoing negotiation for WTO e-commerce negotiation. So we are at the hub of this kind of the international rulemaking process. And for digital governance, and the Suga administration is trying to work hard to ensure interoperability among the frameworks. And of course, we are very much looking forward to coordinating with the incoming Biden administration.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about the trade aspect of Japan's role when it comes to digitalization, because Japan is going to be chair of the CPTPP, right, which would be the child of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which the United States withdrew from. So tell us a little bit about that aspect, the trade aspect of things, and how Japan can play this mediating role when you have China and the U.S. vying for supremacy.
So I think the free flow of data has been kind of the focus on the trade front. But at the same time, the free flow is not for free. We have to make efforts to make that happen. And within this couple of years, some countries, especially in Asia, there has been a kind of repercussion for this kind of data free flow in that the data protectionism, such as the data localization, has been observed. So in response, Japan has been promoting the concept of data free flow with trust, in that there should be a balance, and also there should be a trust to make this happen. And when we say trust, I think there are two pillars. So one is how we deal with privacy, and second, how we deal with security. So all this trade perspective should be combined with this kind of the privacy and security consideration. And that's where we are advocating our proposal with our trading partners.
Which is really interesting, because you talk about privacy, and I continue to mention this, decoupling of China and the U.S., but the reality is when it comes to privacy, the European Union is also playing a very big role, right? So what can Japan do in the middle?
Right. So I think that at this point, there is a big gap between the transatlantic our partners. So there's a Japanese old saying that small differences and a big similarity. So when we have a big similarity, we should disregard the small differences. So that's where we are trying to set up the new norms, where we when we hosted the G20 Osaka Leaders Summit in 2019, we presented a concept of interoperability among the frameworks. So it's not one single law or one single rule dominating the world, but rather we should have the respective set of discipline in each country, but there has to be an interoperability. So we see there is a room for coordination among the trilateral, meaning the US, Japan, and the European. So Japan is trying to bridge between the transatlantic.
What is your view of innovation in Japan now? Because when you think about Japan, you typically do in the past associate it with an image of a very high-tech economy and high-tech and innovative economy. But is it getting left behind, given that we are seeing a number of its neighbours really accelerate investment in the area? What is that sort of, is that a priority for the Suga government?
Right. So this week, the diet session has just begun, and the Prime Minister Suga just delivered his State of the Union speech at the diet. And one major focus of Suga administration is digitalization. So Prime Minister Suga just announced that we will create a new government agency and also the minister in charge of digitalization for the government as well as business and the society. So data is the 21st century oil, and the potential of growth is huge in Japan by this digitalization, especially in areas such as manufacturing, medical, and mobility, where those data are still already accumulated in Japan, and we can take advantage of it. So I think it would even get more important under this pandemic because the whole society is now shifting to contactless and non-interpersonal. So we see there's a huge potential for growth.
One of the stumbling blocks, of course, is the coronavirus and the management of the pandemic. And so far, we've seen Prime Minister Suga really try and strike a balance between, not the harshest lockdowns and also trying to keep the economy in some way still intact as well. Does that run the risk of this not working, of cases spiralling again, and then they have to take even more harsh actions for the economy?
So we are in Tokyo, and the mega Tokyo area. We are now in the partial lockdown. And I think that we have to come up with a solution for simultaneous dual equation of this economy and pandemic. And that is universal. That is a global agenda. And the US and Japan share so many common challenges and interests with this regard. And I think that technology will be the driver to come up with this solution. And the Japanese companies are kind of hastening up their efforts to address this balance between the pandemic and the economy.